Hello. Ah, hello, Ian. Ah. Yeah. I'm not eating a granola bar. It's not like I haven't eaten today, and I'm just eating granola to trick my body into thinking I have eaten a meal. That's not the plan. That's not what we're doing. It's fine, it's good. Okay, let me X out of some of this. Okay. Let's... Here, I'll do this so I can see chat better, because I'm using a rather awkward setup than normal. Since I don't think I've streamed a VN with this computer setup yet, I don't know. Oh yeah, tell me how the game audio is and stuff, you know. Is it loud? Is it quiet? Am I loud? I feel like I'm never too loud. I feel like I'm too soft half the time. And I already have, like, my mic volume at normal, like max. I don't know. Okay. What's up? Oh, fuck. I'll, click it a little. Oh, did some of my saves not work quite right? Well, this one was the latest one, right? Okay. Oh, hello, Dragos. Hello, Maestro. Last one was in September, right? Yeah. Was this correct? All right. This is it? Okay. I'll give me a minute. I'm gonna take a drink first. Oh, yeah, the mind meld. Yeah. Yeah. Get a cough drop, you know? It helps me not have to take too many drinks during recording. At this point, it's less for cough reasons, because I think that's gone now. And more for just general utility, let's say. Okay, let's go do the howdy doody this. Okay. Pain pounds rhythmically in my head, like a heavy drum beat, making their ears pin back tightly before they begin to whine. Then they croak as their sore throat protests against making the sound. Okay. They stare at the scene before them, then they blink. Okay. But it doesn't help that they make better sense of what's in front of them. In fact, it seems to make it worse. Who's making sense of what that's in front of who? These individual thoughts about not existing. Who's having these thoughts? Oh, hello. Hello, Brian. Best character. He's the actual best. See, you're coming round. A fear rises up in his throat, something deep in his brain telling him to flee that voice, to escape from it. But he's still too confused to figure out who or what he even is right now, because he still feels like nothing. But he's also still conscious enough to know that he is, in fact, something. Hello, Cameron. He remembers that he's someone named Cameron. He remembers his situation, and he remembers that he's been drugged with shrooms and Xanax. His trip has reached his dizzying point. His sense of self is so utterly decimated that he isn't sure how he's even going to feel the same again. The terror and torture of the past 2 days has culminated, that's that word, to this. The moment that his mind gives in and breaks, and Cameron can't tell what's real and what isn't. You realize nothing's real. But there's something else, too. Despite the terrible loss of who he was, Cameron, this amalgamation he calls Cameron, in sensing things even more vividly than he had just a few minutes ago when he'd contacted Dev. Cameron sees what's ahead of him, but he's seeing so much more. Okay. In his mind's eye, he looks forward, and he sees a myriad of people in front of him. Though they're all the same person, Devin, Brian, and himself, locked in a vicious, spinning blur of claws, teeth, blood, and horrific, unidentifiable viscera. Got there. It's confusing, seeing so many versions of himself and his boyfriend, and he turns his head to glance away, not wanting to see that violence. Then, noticing something over his shoulder, he looks back, and this time he sees one version of himself along with Brian. Ooh. He sees his unconscious body being pinned against the tree for a while longer before he crumples to the ground. Oh, hello, Q. What the hell? His voice is low, husky, and barely audible. Brian laughs, startling the coyote out of his vision of violence. I'd choke you the fuck out, that's what. Cameron blinks at the bear, and then back at the forest. I thought I died. Not yet, kid. We got a few things to do first. And you probably want to see your boyfriend, too. Just here to say have a nice stream. Alright, see ya. Thanks for stopping by, Q. Not sure you'll get to talk to him since he's knocked out. Knocked out? Yep. Wait, with what? Relax. It's just, I don't know what this is. Sure, I gave him a good amount, but there's a few decades old because they made him illegal in the States back in the 90s. And you know, when pills get old, they don't work so good anymore. Brian goes on and on about the stuff and how it used to be the a premier date rape drug in the country. Cameron watches the bear's mouth move in waves and ripples, yellow teeth poking out from behind his lips as saliva collects and begins frothing at the corners. Who's watching this? Cameron reassures himself automatically. I'm watching this, and I need to save Devin. He's not so convinced by the first part, though. Cameron's doing alright. Me? Cameron. Simple concepts that aren't so simple anymore. Just like in high school, he stopped existing. It's different this time, though. The Xanax is certainly quashing the panic he should be feeling right now. But this time, his perspective is is from a completely different angle. Cameron's amalgamation does still exist, and the borders have dissolved. and he seems to be seeping into everything. Despite already knowing he's insignificant, he's still awestruck by how small Cameron is compared to the world. Even the bugs crawling beneath the leaves make Cameron feel small, an entire world he knows nothing about. But entangling his identity with the universe means he's also entangled with Brian. The bear is missing parts of himself, kind of like Artie, as shattered pieces and jagged holes, pock, wait, pock, pockmarking? What is this word? The landscape of his life. Cameron almost feels sorry for him, that maybe if things had been just a little different, the odds, the odds just a little more in Brian's favor, he could have been a different person. What's really disturbing, though, is the genuine affection he has for Cameron, his urge to caress and hold the coyote, but there's a hatred there too, a disgust for what Cameron is. Young, attractive, a fag. Not just queer like Brian considers himself to be, but a faggot. The kind of queer that acts real cute before fucking over the real men who should be doing all the fucking. So it feels good to punish Cameron, but it's not even. Yeah, but it's even better to watch him suffer, to watch the way his body writhes, his mouth open for air, his eyes wide and fearful. Oh, hello, Selkie. Cameron feels himself recoil from understanding Brian's thought process, a way of thinking he'd never consider himself. But that thought process isn't what makes Brian the terrible person that he is. And Cameron knows that most don't have a say in how their sexual interest and fetishes develop. So the thoughts themselves aren't exactly evil, at least not to Cameron. Cameron knows a few guys from college who had interests similar to Brian. During the first year of dating Devin, the bear had timidly asked him if he could gently close his teeth over the coyote's the coyote's neck and growl. Oh my god. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. It was thrilling and intense, and Cameron loved the rush. Why is Cameron such a bottom? He's literally just the hole. But then Devin had a nightmare about tearing open Cameron's throat, and that was the end of that. So to Cameron, Brian isn't all that strange. What makes Brian different isn't that he has fetishes. He's not crazy. He's not a psychopath. No, the true root of Brian's evil is clear. He's selfish, and he's never satisfied with what he gets. Selfish enough to put dozens of young people through hellish torture until they finally die. All while having the capacity to fully control himself. All while having full access to alternatives like roleplay. But it's not enough. He always needs more. All for his own fleeting, drug-fueled, sexual gratification, because at one point, Brian decided that's what makes him feel good. So fuck this world that makes him feel bad. But he'd found some release in strangling Cameron, and now his focus is turning back to a vague idea of how he used Cameron's abilities. Something to stop him from spending the rest of eternity with his victims torturing him. Cameron could spoil the end for Brian, let him know that when everyone dies, they just cease to be what they were. That's it. Ghosts, demons, poltergeists, creations of the living, and whatever it is, that's an echo. Cameron draws back at this point, getting overwhelmed by all the thoughts coming from the old bear, unable to understand them without more context. Looking forward, he glimpses the various scenarios again, and the one constant is death. Most involve him dying, and a good amount involves Devin dying as well. Cameron imagines that this is indicative of what's most likely to happen. But a few, just two in fact, show Cameron and Devin surviving, with Brian Yeah, with Brian either living or dying. Cameron doesn't care much about the latter, just as long as he can get Devin and himself out of Echo alive. They can deal with Brian afterwards. Cameron doesn't even care much if he doesn't make it, especially in his state of mind. But he won't accept not being able to save Devin. Fuck Artie though. He can die in a hole, apparently. Suddenly remembering what he had done earlier, Cameron tries to subtly brush his pocket. Okay. And is amazed that the key is still in there. Does Brian know? Well, he does know what Cameron had planned, but in his own excitement, and especially because he's tweaked out. Okay. He's hyper focusing on other things. He had also missed the key being taken out of his pocket. That, in Brian's memory, is terrible. Decades of drugs at neurotoxic doses had dismantled who he used to be. He doesn't even seem to remember why he choked Cameron in the first place. I had to make connections down to Sonora. Stuff was over the fucking counter there, so it was easy to get. But getting it over the fucking border is a whole different issue. Brian suddenly stops talking, eyes narrowing. Cameron's pulse quickens as he wonders if Brian was just remembering his plan. What's wrong? His voice is still rough from the strangling, a deep soreness starting to emanate from the core of his neck. I don't know. I just like you better when you're smiling. But if I'm fucking boring you, just say so. It takes Cameron a second to understand what Brian is even talking about, then a few more to scan the bear's thoughts. In Brian's mind, his smiling has a lot to do with how interesting the bear's over-explanation of druggies is, so Cameron quickly puts on his face. Oh, sorry, it is really interesting. I'm just so overwhelmed with the drugs and, Shut up! Cameron just... Okay, sad boy now. Brian starts to work his jaw, like he's chewing something, before clenching his fist. Cameron tenses up, preparing himself to be hit again. You're cute, but not that cute, and I'm not that stupid. I hate fags like you, sucking up and sucking dick so you can get what you really want. Brian's mind flicks through a few faces, but only one defined enough for Cameron to comprehend is a fox in a red hat. Then Brian seems to relax, but the anger is still there, the bear having honed it to become more cool and collected, which only makes it all the more terrifying. Sure, stimulants increase empathy in a normal brain, but if Brian abuses them to the point that amphetamines feel like caffeine, then it probably only increases his irritability and rage. Best boy is back? Yeah, he is. That's what his mother was like at the end, and it always confused Cameron as to why someone would want to do a drug that makes them feel worse. I got a better idea. Cameron gasps, yes, as Brian grabs him by the ear. No, stop. I can walk with you. I don't want to Cameron senses the bear's amusement at his fear of being pulled up by his ear again, and the coyote quickly stifles his begging, realizing it might shift Brian's interest back to using Cameron for torture rather than his abilities. The pain had been blinding, but it's nothing, absolutely nothing compared to what this bear has done to the others. Cameron manages to settle into a stumbling walk as Brian pulls him along, bent over and trying to see the ground in the darkness, all while he tries to carefully follow the bear's rough, unpredictable movement. Every minute or so, Cameron looks forward and sees the scenario he's aiming for, still within reach, so he keeps walking. Meanwhile, a van emerges from the trees, parked a ways off the side road. Brian freezes, staring. Then he lets out a surprised laugh. Well, I'll be damned. The fucker got away. Who? The coyote winces as Brian continues to hold him by the ear. And Cameron hopes that he's talking about Devin, even though he can sense the presence of the younger bear just ahead of them. The coyote would be glad to be proven wrong about his abilities, especially if it means Devin gets away. But Cameron knows. That cat. I swear I shot him twice, too. Then again, he didn't do that weird jerking thing people do when you give him the kill shot. So I must have missed the second time. Thought maybe I just killed him with the first. Cameron looks where Brian is staring and sees the spot where Arturo must have been. And dark stains cover the leaves, along with what looks like vomit, and Cameron feels his own stomach churn at the sight. It's difficult to connect his outgoing, oblivious friend to the mess, and Cameron feels guilty, mingle. That's what that says. With his misery, as he realizes that what's coming to Artie is their fault. But he knows Artie is far away now, miles away, and Cameron silently encourages the cat to keep going, to do whatever he can to save them and himself, even though he's clearly in terrible shape. Cameron hopes Artie can hear him, even if he is awake right now. Cameron senses another ominous shift in the bear's motivation. Brian doesn't think that Artie will make it to the interstate, but he knows he should go looking for the cat. But everything was so fucked from the start. 3 young men who likely have close family and friend groups, all 3 of them injured, beaten, and all 3 knowing full well what Brian is capable of, what Brian has done. There's no point to do it anymore. Brian had almost reverted to thinking he'd get away with all of this somehow, but no. This is the end. Well, I guess that's it then. I figured it was getting close for a while now. The calm with which Brian accepts his nearing demise makes Cameron want to try to escape all over again. Why can't this bear just end it without taking them down with him? It's the end for him, not them. Can I see Devin? Cameron half-heartedly smiled, hoping it might sway the bear, but he's not paying attention to the coyote. Brian shakes his head at the sober version of himself, the version that actually did plan to let Cameron go, because why would he add to his problem by killing the yote if said yote could take them all away? That's why he tried to be nice to him, and then, of course, things got out of hand. Cameron begins to shake as he senses Brian's arousal and excitement. He's thinking about Cameron, about his baggie full of bath salts, and about how long it might take to find them. Cameron blanches mentally, unsure of what that dark place full of death is, but he knows he doesn't want to go there. Where are you taking me? You're the psychic. Figure it out. Keeping his hold on the coyote, Brian pulls Cameron towards the van. Do we get to see Van? No? Okay. Are we back to Artie? It isn't, it isn't long before Artie realizes that the lights along the interstate are actually a lot further away than he had thought. He had no idea how long he's been walking, but it feels like at least an hour, and the road is maybe just a little closer. At this point, he's so weak, his movements so uncoordinated, that deep down, he knows his body is about to give up. Every dizzy spell, every wave of anxiety, it terrifies the cat that he might have another seizure, and if he does, he knows he won't be getting back up. Artie, please. Cameron? Artie looks around, hopefully. He probably started Now, he'd probably start crying right now if Cameron just showed up, if only because he wouldn't be alone anymore. Corpse calling time with Artie, right? Let's go. But then Artie sees a pair of headlights closer than the others, and it gets closer and closer. Artie notes that the lights are coming right toward him, and he doesn't bother getting off the road, feeling like this might be a light at the end of the tunnel situation. Well, and then the lights slow, and Artie hears the sound of an engine. Fuck. What the fuck are you doing standing there like a fucking idiot out on the road? That's a very good question. Artie's ears twitch, recognizing the voice from somewhere in his past. In what might as well be another life. So it's what's his name, right? It's, oh god, I've already forgotten his name. The Weasel? Dooku. Is it Count Dooku? It's hard to tell because they're screaming at him. A car door opens and Artie just stands there, lost in the lights. I told you guys to fuck off. First the fucking bar is closed because of some fucking cold, and now you're still here to fuck with me. I wanna cunt and drink, and to cunt and relax. Arturo furrows his brows, and never having heard the curse word used in such a way. Yo, same? I thought I was reading that wrong. Like, am I insane? I mean, yes, but a figure starts to materialize in front of Arturo, and finally he recognizes him. What happened to you? The Weasel stares at him, then tilts his head to the side, squinting before reaching out and turning Arturo slightly by the shoulder. Shit, there's no way. He couldn't be that fucking... Oh, are you heading out, Maestro? Alright, good night. Thanks for stopping by. The Weasel trails off, then looks at Artie's face. Who did this to you? Artie reluctantly opens his mouth, for some reason, feeling almost embarrassed about his condition. Bart? The Weasel stares at him with an odd look. Bar? Yeah, I was at a bar. It's closed. Bear? Bear? Brian? Arturo nods and regrets it immediately as he almost falls over. Damn. You're real fucked up, aren't you? Arturo stares back at the Weasel and notices his expression, like he's trying to decide something. It's not the right reaction to the situation, and Artie suddenly feels like he might be in danger, but he has no idea why. All he remembers is that this old man had floored Devin with 2 swings, so combined with his current state, he can't do a thing. Then the Weasel seems to come out of whatever it is he was thinking about. Well, I'll be damned. This is it then, isn't it? That stupid motherfucker. Alright, get in. We're going to the hospital. Arturo stumbles forward, and once the Weasel realizes he's having trouble moving, he helps Arturo inside. Oh, look at Duke being a good lad. As he does, the Weasel sucks in a breath, grimacing. Jesus Christ, this is really making me not want to do this. I'm gonna have to do this. What I'm gonna have to do after this, but you know, everything's gotta end eventually. Arturo isn't sure what the old Weasel's talking about, but if he's taking him to the hospital, then he's at least on the right track. Free and friend? Yeah. I'll call Payne PD once I drop you off. Gotta make sure I can beat him back, though. Arturo decides that it's the Weasel who's acting strange, but as the strange Weasel starts to make a 3-point turn to drive towards the interstate, Arturo is only grateful. He's done what he can, and now the rest is up to God. He can only pray. So he prays for Devin, Cameron, Maria, and himself, because if he survives, he knows the road in front of him is long, fractured, and broken. Okay. We're back to the van, We're back to the fun trunk. I don't know why, but every time I get to this background, I keep thinking that this isn't a like the trunk van thingy. I keep thinking it's an overhead view of a prison, and like these are like the prison cell doors. You know, I don't know why. Uh, Devin feels his body bouncing and shaking on a hard metallic surface, occasionally leaning from side to side, feeling like he's laying down in a car, taking sharp turns. The bear opens his eyes, groaning. Dev?
Cam?
Is Cameron driving? The coyote has his own sedan that he drives, but usually if they're out together, it's in Devin's Jeep. At first, he thinks maybe he's given the wheel to the coyote so that he himself can get some rest. But they came in the Jeep, and Cameron doesn't drive standard, right? Drive standard? What's that? Is that stick? Okay. Come on, stop assuming things. Lately, Cameron's seems to bristle whenever he does. Lately, as in ever since they got to Echo. Okay. Devin, I'm here. How are you doing? Cameron's concerned. A gentle voice is clearly masking something strained and desperate underneath.
Cameron, what's wrong? I told you, he's all drugged up.
But he can barely talk.
Cam? Exactly. I already told you I roofied him. It's like blacking out. Anyway, it's wearing off. He's just tired.
Is that blood? Why is he bleeding?
Did it to himself. Imagine what a mess we'd have if he wasn't drugged, right? Never trust a bear to stay put when you chain him up.
Devin, can you hear me? Are you okay?
Yes.
Then he's drifting back to sleep again. More sounds of driving on a rough road, gravel grinding under wheels and hitting the undercarriage. That is what that word says. Fade back to the same background. Okay. When he comes to again, it stops and it's stopped, and Devin realizes the van doors are open.
Look like he did wear off just in time. It did wear off just in time.
Can I go to him, please? Devin sees that one of Cameron's ears is twitched in the older bear's grasp. That is what that says. Yes. The coyote's head tilted to the side, wincing as he tries to get a better look at Devin. The younger bear becomes very still, seeing the best friend being held by the worst person he's ever met. One of his soft, sensitive ears that Devin had played with countless times in the past is now twisted slightly into itself. In Brian's other paw, he's holding a shotgun. On top of it, Brian looks angrier than usual. In fact, he's looking at Cameron with an expression of utter contempt, all while Cameron isn't paying attention to him, instead intently on Devin instead.
Of course, fucking typical. I'm glad I saved this.
He suddenly grabs the coyote by the shoulders and turned Cameron around to face him. To face away from Devin. Even so, there's no confusion as to what happens to Cameron next. Brian turns slightly away from Cameron, then spins and sends the back of his fist across the coyote's muzzle. He can take it. The sound is so loud, Devin is shocked awake, adrenaline compensating for the sedative. At first, Devin refuses to believe what he just saw. What a sound like that could have been made with Cameron's muzzle. The coyote's head snaps to the right before he instantly starts to crumple, but Brian holds him up.
Hey!
Devin yells automatically, shocked by what he just saw. He'd never seen someone hit that hard in his entire life. In the silence that follows, the distinct sound of something small clattering around the van, as if a plastic bead had been thrown across the metal floor. Devin hears it land next to him, looks down, and sees something long spinning in place before it comes to a stop. It's thin, white, and it starts wide, but tapers into a sharp point. Devin only has a moment to focus on it before he grunts as Cameron lands on top of him. Brian having pushed him over. As he's looking down at the coyote and sees the blood beginning to seep from his mouth, Devin realizes the white thing was one of Cameron's teeth, and shocked anger overcomes the fear.
Hey!
All sense has seemingly left Devin. Everything he's feeling and thinking condensing down to that one word that he screams to express his rage.
Cam! Cam!
Panic is making him breathe fast, though he tries to keep his chest from heaving to avoid bouncing Cameron's head. Brian had hit him so hard that it definitely could have killed him. What makes it all the more terrifying is the way Cameron's body went limp. It had been so reminiscent of Artie's sudden collapse when he had suddenly lost his life. But Cameron is breathing, though it's in a terrible, snorting way.
Cammy, baby, can you hear me?
The panic in his voice lowers to an almost pitiful whine as he stares at the coyote twitching, his eyes half open, and his head turning back and forth slowly.
Whoops. Took out a bit more out of him than I meant to. Fuck, that hurt.
Brian shakes the paw he used to hit Cameron, as if bashing Cameron's muzzle made it sting. Devin's rage crescendoed once more.
Brian, I will fucking kill you!
Brian looks surprised for just a second, then he goes on grinning, enjoying the reaction, as if he's watching a show. He only makes Devin angrier.
I'll knock every tooth out of your fucking head. I'll tear your throat out.
Devin's voice weakens, breaks, then trails off under Brian's apparent glee at the younger bear's fury. Realizing that Cameron's ears are twitching at his shouting, Devin returns his attention to Cameron as the coyote lets out a low, raspy groan.
Cameron, honey, you can hear me, right? Cameron!
Meanwhile, blood oozes out of the coyote's nose and mouth, seeping into the fur on Devin's stomach and side. Devin tries to keep his sobbing and grasping into a minimum as Cameron's head continues to rest over his diaphragm. Cameron's eyes flutter as he blinks, and Devin sees the light of consciousness re-enter his eyes.
Cam!
Devin? Cameron grunts under his breath, lifting his head slightly. Brian already looks bored at the catastrophe he just created, and now he keeps looking over his shoulder into the darkness that stretches behind him, shifting impatiently.
All right, make it quick, Yote. We need to get moving. Don't touch him. You could have broken his fucking neck.
Devin's voice cracks and turns hoarse again. Brian bristles, finally reacting, but Devin turns his attention back to Cameron, continuing to try and gently coax him into a state of consciousness.
Come on, baby. You can hear me. You can understand what I'm saying.
Slowly, Cameron lifts his head, a mixture of blood and saliva connecting his lips to Devin's fur in a long strand, that's what that says. It's a strand game. Oh, we got there. It said strand. We do it. yeah, there was... I'm okay. I'm fine. Cameron sounds confused as he mumbles, trying to get up unsteadily.
No, stay still.
No, get up. Didn't I tell you what I'd do to the bear if you didn't?
Then do it. Come over here and do it, you fucking coward. You fucking scum.
Devin. Cameron's voice is calm, albeit quiet and weak, and the bear goes silent as he focuses back on Cameron. He has his head lifted, trying to focus on Devin's face. Who's feeling this right now? The question catches the bear by surprise.
What?
The mines. That's right. I'm going to the mines, and I'm coming back for you. Cameron's claws. Wait. No. Cameron clasps a paw. That's my okay. To his muzzle, wincing hard as he shuts his eyes tight.
What? The mines? Stay here.
Devin's eyes well up with tears, seeing that the coyote is barely coherent, barely able to understand what's happening. Then Cameron leans in to kiss the bear, again taking Devin by surprise. He immediately smells and tastes Cameron's blood, making the gorge rise in his throat. It reminds himself of his predatory nightmares, but Cameron's insists. Yes. So Devin forces himself to not to heave. I'm doing great that line. I'm doing amazing. He doesn't want to feel the gap. Yeah. Where Cameron's lower left canine used to be. The uneasiness of his already swollen muzzle. As he forces himself to kiss back, he feels something else press against his lips. Something hard and oddly sharp, and Devin opens his muzzle, allowing the blood to flow into his mouth, and with it comes something else, and Devin realizes all at once that it's the key. And Devin maneuvers the key into his muzzle as subtly as he can, hearing Brian sigh impatiently behind Cameron. It slides under his tongue, tiny in his comparatively large muzzle. Cameron whispers into Devin's ears, we're gonna go back home tomorrow. I promise.
But where are you going? Why the mines? Honey, please.
Devin can't keep the whining panic out of his voice, sounding like a cub, but managing to keep the words clear with a tiny key under his tongue. Devin just stares at Cameron as he pulls back, tears rolling down his cheeks as his coyote crawls weakly to his feet and steadies himself against the wall of the van. Excuse me.
You're fine.
He turns his gaze back to the furious sobbing bear.
Sit tight, kid. We'll be back in a little while, I promise.
Oh, that's a new background, right? Being knocked out, or regaining consciousness, stumbling his way through the dark, all while on an untold amount of shrooms is harrowing. Yup. That's the only word Cameron feels is appropriate for the situation. Harrowing. I don't know. How is that supposed to be pronounced? Harrowing. The world is more dreamlike than his dreams. This combination of disorienting factors leaves Cameron fumbling through a series of events immediately after he's reached the old bear. Brian grabbed his paw, and suddenly they were moving swiftly through the desert before Cameron is pulled into a place that's cold and dark, lit up dimly by an old electric lantern, its handle hanging from the barrel of Brian's shotgun. Like marrow? What? Okay. Like Tamaro? If Cameron thought his perception yeah, that's that word, of time was fucked on weed, and now it's twisted over onto itself. He's exhausted, having not eaten a proper meal in well over a day, and his throat is so dry, he thinks he might be willing to drink Brian's drugged water. Could be fun, could be fun. Each time Brian goes around a bend first, or his bulk obscures it, the lantern's light disappears and leaves Cameron in darkness. Each time that happens, brilliant red arches. There we go, arcs. I mean, oh oh god, that was impressive. That was very impressive. Wow. Okay. Okay. Each time that happens, brilliant red arcs crowd his vision. Goodbye, background. Will we not see you again? Okay. Man, there's all these illustrative backgrounds, right? So I'm really hoping when we're in the mine, we get to the hole, and it's just the picture from Echo. It's not illustrated or anything. It's just the photo. I want that. I want that a lot. Who's in darkness? Oh, look, he's all bloodied. Look at him. I am. I'm in the darkness. Everything is in darkness. No, just me.
Stop fighting it. It'll only make it worse.
Cameron is surprised by the bear's sudden appearance. Where am I? Brian sighs heavily again.
Doesn't matter.
But Cameron crumples up against something jabs him hard in the sternum, twisting it onto himself, feeling a black hole open in his chest. It sucks the rest of his body and attention into it as the canine curls up to the hard dirt floor, whining and grunting. Finally, air returns to his lungs, and as it does, he hears a snorting sound again. After a while, Cameron looks up from his position on the ground to see Brian on his knees, appearing to smell the stock of his shotgun. Then Cameron notices the white powder, and he understands what's happening. Cameron hears a familiar voice, one that he's sure he's hearing and not imagining. Dylan? Dylan. Which one was Dylan?
Don't snort it. You're trying to coat your nasal cavity, not your fucking lungs.
That's how my friend did it.
Then your friends are fucking idiots.
Brian looks up from his disappearing line of bath salts.
Who are you talking to?
You do this on purpose? Ian, whatever do you mean? Whatever do you mean? Cameron quietly tries to hush Dylan, but Brian already heard them. On top of that, Brian doesn't seem angry or upset, but his continued stare demands an answer. His name's Dylan. He's my ex. Sorry. We don't get along well.
You bet you get in some third man syndrome. Whenever I get real fucked up on too many drugs for too long, a person always shows up. I end up having a conversation with him and everything.
Brian readjusts the way he's holding his lantern and gun and grabs Cameron's arm with the other.
I hear it happens to people in survival situations too. Anyway, I'm always too delirious to remember who the third man is.
Yeah. Cameron can't understand how Dylan isn't real, but this nightmare bear apparently is. Is he being tricked?
Alright, here's the deal. I'll stop hitting you as long as you're smiling. Got it?
You just put a smile on. Uh-huh. Brian clenches his fist meaningfully. Cameron winces and then quickly stretches his mouth into a large smile, even though it hurts to the point that tears begin to well up in his eyes. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize what you were talking about for a second. I remember now.
Sure you do. Pathetic faggot.
Brian continues to inspect Cameron as the coyote remains quiet, keeping a smile plastered on his face. This experience is too much. What do you mean? All of this is too much. He just wants to stop, and he'll do whatever this bear, the source of his torment, wants if it prevents him from being hurt again.
Guess I did bust your chops pretty good, huh?
Cameron flinches as the bear grabs his badly aching muzzle in one giant paw. Wait, please don't. Cameron cringes hard, but tries his best to hold still.
Yep, broke your tooth. Too, swollen up a bit. But you're cuter with your face all messed up like that. Too bad it's gonna look real ugly by tomorrow morning. Not that it'll matter. It's just hard to look at you now, with that stupid scar.
Brian lets go and grabs his shoulder instead, at the same time glancing at Cameron's shirt.
You from Bridgetown? Timber City? Or did you just pick that up at the Goodwill? I always say, when you're shopping at Goodwill, never pick up clothes that have anything to do with the place. Fuck. Just a few years back, I went to a well-stun sweatshop from the Salvation Army, and Cameron follows along silently. You're supposed to smile, Cameron. Where's your smiling portrait? Meanwhile, the third presence has shifted into something else, something a bit more familiar. Brian's getting chatty again for the second dose he took. Anyway, I hear that city's overrun with Antifa and all that. True liberal hellscape, if there ever was one.
His mother followed behind them. It is holding his paw. Looking back, he can't see her clearly, but he knows it's her. It's okay. A lot of the time, it's outside groups coming into the city making trouble. He even sounds like her, defending the city they both grew up in despite its problems, despite its streets becoming a stage for the country's culture wars to physically play out. Even while they suffered on the outskirts of what was supposed to be a liberal bastion lit up by the lights of tolerance and welfare, but instead glowing orange from the burning cars and flashbangs. And yet they defended it because they both believed in its core principles. Now, though, Cameron looks behind himself while also looking back. He's taller than she is, and he's reminded of just how small she was, how small she'd seemed to him. Now, if she'd survived, okay. He would have saved her too, if she could have held on just a little longer. But how much longer? 4 or 5 years? Could she have held on that long? No, not with her habit, and the amount she was using. And though Cameron doesn't want to admit it, it was her death that spurred him to make the first serious change in his life. His mom wasn't a good mom. All things considered, she shouldn't have even had children. What? Dragos, it's fine. It's fine. The old videos are still good. It's still good. Remember Yvonne? That means it's good. But how can he judge? She was just 17 years old, excited and in love, living out of a 70s Chev van? Chevum? Okay. But all of that came to an end when he was born in December 1995. Wait. Cameron and I are the same age? That's weird. Then his abusive, probably schizophrenic father left and committed suicide sometime in the mid-2000s. Wait, shit. Yeah, wait. How is it supposed to be pronounced? Wait. I don't know. It's Chev. Chev? Wait. Wait, is it Chevy? That's like a car brand, right? Wait, is it Chevy or Chevy? I don't. Ian, it's fine. It's fine. It's you know. But for a few months in '95, his parents truly wanted to make a good life for him, and that feeling from that moment in time overwhelms Cameron. They wanted him to be happy, successful, and they truly thought he'd be the one to break the curse of poverty on both their families. And even though they wanted that for him, they specifically wanted him to be happy, to have a family life and a childhood that both his parents were able to see other kids enjoy from afar. They tried. But it's the most typical love story for people like them. Because then, well, like in all those other stories, thinking back, things break, and then things settle. He done the exact same before Devin. She should have taken more precautions. She left him alone in the trailer often. Excuse me. Her medication and recreational drugs freely available for him to experiment with while she was at work. He became an addict just like her, and he had come to understand the baggage that comes with that label, that it's not just about a craving or a desire for something. Everyone has that. No, it's about who you are as a person. A liar, a thief, a cheater. Someone willing to do anything to get whatever it is their addictions demands, anything to feel good. Whether it's pathetically checking all the coined dispensers in a casino once you've spent your life savings, or pathetically combing through the carpet from whatever drug it is that you're starting to come down from. The only thing that saved him from that life and death was his grades. Somehow, through all of the substance abuse and neglect, he was a straight A student, and that's what got him a partial scholarship to the University of Pueblo. And that's what got him out of the trailer parks surrounding Bridgetown and into the state's flagship university. A few schools in his own state had better offers, but Pueblo was the most prestigious of the schools he got accepted into. A top 100 school with the best ranked nursing and engineering programs in the region, and you went there for fucking music? Okay. That, and at the time, Cameron wanted to be far away from Bridgetown, even if that meant the desert. And then he met Devin. She wasn't a good mom. She was a great person, a wonderful person, and she did the best she could with what she had at the time. She brought him into a chaotic, unstable life, a life that she saved several times, and while he occasionally wished his mother would have just let him die, now Cameron is only thankful. While most of his life was tough, the past 5 years have been better than better than he would have even dared to dream was possible. His life was perfect up until yesterday. Then they got here. Yes. Tears run down his face, conflicted about how he should feel, and just knowing that he missed her, that he loves her, and that he hopes she's okay, wherever she is. The third person squeezes his paw reassuringly. Cameron squeezes back, and he's comforted by the feeling that, for this moment, he's sealed off from Brian and the town, and it's just him and his mom walking through these mines. Then she tells him she's proud of him for graduating high school and college, and she's happy he found Devin. Would she really be proud of him if she knew about what he studied? If she was still around? I would have majored in business administration or something.
What did you major in?
Smile. A gentle voice from behind him, barely audible, and carried on the soft breeze that grows weaker the deeper they go into these tunnels. Music theory.
And what the hell are you supposed to do with that?
Teach? You can also compose, write journals about it, and other useless shit that no one cares about. The automatic answer, the one that he had prepared for all of his skeptical friends who were going into STEM-related fields.
You a teacher?
No, but that was my plan.
Some plan.
I mean, I didn't go into any debt, so I had financial freedom after I graduated.
You know, you're pretty coherent for someone that's on that many shrooms. Most people would have lost their minds.
Oh, I am. I definitely am. I don't know, I have more control than I did the first time I tried it. In fact, Cameron feels like he's losing his mind right now. A laugh. Okay.
Anyway, what is it that you do for a living? Did you pay it all?
And judging by the tone in Brian's voice, he already knows the answer to that. Customer support for a hooligan.
Sad. Working for the country that we nuked twice. But in the 80s, we used to beat people up for working for companies like that.
Yeah, I noticed that it died for a second, Dragos. I don't know. Sometimes that happens. My internet just, like, dies for a second. It is what it is. Even though it's a lined connection, because I'm now using a line connection instead of Wi-Fi. That's why my internet's been a lot better. But just sometimes it disconnects. I don't know. It is what it is. Cameron is at a loss for words, but only for a moment. Oh, okay. Julian, the current market leader in smartphone manufacturing in Taiwan is... Okay. And the coyote assumes that the bear is thinking of a certain other country in the same region. Either way, it's a strange and disturbing aside. But that's just Brian. And sometimes with Brian, it's best for Cameron to just keep his mouth shut and also keep smiling.
So why music, you sing?
Cameron wishes the bear would stop asking him questions. This is like the only person in the game asking you about your career path. Like, be nice to him, Cameron. Cameron wishes the bear would stop asking him questions, making small talk like any of this is a routine part of their lives. But the coyote assumes bath salts will make everyone talkative. Kind of.
What do you mean, kinda? Either you sing or you don't.
Well, yeah, I mean, I sing, but I'm not very good.
I mean, you fucking better be if you spent 4 years learning. How about you sing? I'll decide.
Man, is Cameron gonna sing Godzilla before Darian does? Ian, how would you feel about that? It's getting hard to keep up the cheerful charade then, as Cameron senses the cruel, malicious arousal rising up inside of Brian again. The second dose is making him do more than just talk too much. Sure, just gotta think of one to sing. Anything you want to hear. I know a lot of 90s grunge and alternative rock.
Yeah, you're a walking, talking stereotype, aren't you? You write your own music.
I definitely tried. A subtle twitch of annoyance rippled through the air.
You know, one thing that really pisses me off is when someone's acting like an overly humble little bitch. Either you do or you don't. Either you're good at it or you're not. Either you offer something different or you fucking don't.
Wow, I like Brian. I feel like every build of this game comes out, I just like, Brian's more relatable.
So which the fuck is it?
No, I can. Just give me a second. The corners of Cameron's muzzle turns down slightly, his composure almost crumpling. He's doing the best he can under the current circumstances, but he needs help. Devin, where are you? Brian's attitude shifts from one extreme to the next, making Cameron feel a sort of emotional whiplash. But as long as it keeps him from getting hit, or more importantly, killed, then he's fine. He's fine with that. Tentatively, Cameron starts to sing, choosing the song that got him the most attention. The one that was played in modern rotation on Mountain West colleges, along with a few in Northwest. A song about his ex, Dylan, about their mutual love and hate for each other, about the abuse they used to hurl at each other, physically and mentally, and finally, about their breakup. His voices are rough and cracked, and while some of it is because he isn't warmed up, it's mostly due to having his throat crushed. Dehydrated and screaming doesn't help either. But aside from jolting each time Brian pulls him in a different direction, Cameron finds the melody and rhythm. As he does, he becomes a bit more bold, singing louder until his voice carries through the tunnels. It feels very strange with his swelling muzzle and missing tooth. Yes, Brian still says nothing, and Cameron realizes he's listening instantly. Ah, Michael, hello. Oh, while this makes the coyote nervous, he knows it's better than the bear being angry, and mainly, he just needs to keep singing. Devin is in the mines with them, and he needs directions. Cameron just wishes it doesn't feel like he's leading Devin to his own demise. What we doing? Okay. Finding the entrance wasn't hard. While the main entrance had been blocked off with rebar before being filled and sealed with concrete, he'd known about the side entrance from the supernatural forums he researched. Oh my god! Before coming here. That and Cameron's blood was sprinkled here and there, and the scent of it spurred Devin on. Of course, it leads right to that entrance. He had started unlocking the cuffs, and the second he thought Brian might be out of earshot. He had fumbled with the tiny slippery key before freeing it. Yeah, freeing his wrists, revealing blood-crusted fur matted down to the broken skin. Now, Devin moves through the mines in complete darkness. Oh. Oh, it's been a while since we've seen Devin's portrait, hasn't it? Oh, kind of forgot what it looked like. It's almost suffocating, almost panic-inducing, but the scent of Cameron mixed with the foul odor of Brian pushes the younger bear deeper into the tunnels. The air feels tense, as if the mine itself is intent on seeing what happens next. It's not going to fall into another abyss. When Lupina died, it had been an accident, one that happened after a tornado shredded their town, leveling the block across the street, but leaving their house pretty intact. As a 12-year-old, he just didn't think that it could happen. They had survived the actual disaster, but just as the relief started to set in, and his guards started to calm down, it happened. He felt powerless in that situation, and he knew that her death had happened because of him. But this time is different. He couldn't fight. He couldn't fight what took Lupita, but he can fight what's taking Cameron.
Damn it!
What about 10 minutes? After about 10 minutes, Devin starts to become more agitated, unable to hear them any longer, and going by scent alone, Devin can tell that he's lost the trail.
Shit!
He hisses through his teeth, trying to keep quiet in case Brian is somehow nearby, lying in wait. And then somehow he hears Cameron's singing voice. Devin goes completely still. He'd recognize his boyfriend's voice anywhere, of course, but Cameron's style is different, having the qualities of a singer from the 50s while retaining a grunge-like roughness. The Coyote has heavily influenced by the black and white musicals his mother used to watch late at night. He was embarrassed about it after being critiqued in one of his vocal performance classes, and he had been trying to change his technique when Devin first met him. But Devin always liked Cameron's voice. Excuse me. And it was due to Devin's urging that Cameron leaned into his style. Devin begins moving as fast as he can while staying quiet. He knocks his nose into a few walls and scrapes his elbow up and shoulders, but he keeps moving, simply trying to force his way into the direction of the voice. Then, just as he thinks he's a few turns away, it stops. Then Cameron screams and Devin drops all attempts at stealth.
Cam! Brian!
He calls out to let Brian know he's there, to at least distract him from the Coyote. Then he barrels his way through the darkness, trying to find what he's sure is the last turn. Why Brian has brought Cameron here, he doesn't know. He doesn't even know what he's going to do when he meets them. Well, anything. He'll do anything. Okay. Good though. Brian is looking a bit more distracted, starting to scan the tunnel wall before his eyes settle on what looks like a large crack from the ceiling to the ground. Cameron turns up his singing a notch, knowing that this is their destination, the end of the road. The old bear glances at him, looking annoyed. This, for whatever reason, is what brings Brian out of his stimulant-induced hyperfocus. Brian finally realizes what's happening. It's only now that the old bear remembers Cameron's plan to take the key. Even Cameron forgot. And now a huge paw flies to his pocket, digging inside and realizing it's too late before he whirls on Cameron.
Oh, you little faggot!
Cameron turns and runs, trying to take advantage of Brian letting him go for those couple seconds. Something pounds into Cameron's lower back, just to the right, and it feels like a cannonball being smashed through his body. Cameron is launched forward against the tunnel wall directly in front of him, and he tries to hold onto it, sliding down slightly as he stares straight up into the darkness. It's so dark that Cameron can't tell if the ceiling is a few feet above him, or if it's simply endless space full of glowing arches that stretch on forever. His eyes stay wide, his breath leaking out of his muzzle in a slow, high-pitched rasp, and not wanting to believe the pain he feels spreading through his through his insides is real. Then, he's on the ground, writhing and groaning uncontrollably while electric pain spiderwebs through his body. The blows Brian had delivered before are nothing compared to this. Cameron thrashes around in the dirt, desperate to find a way out of the hell. He's in hell. Who's in hell? He has to be. What are these red arches? And why are flames spreading from his guts inside his lungs?
Damn, you'll probably only piss blood after that one.
Okay. Brian's mock concerned voice snaps Cameron back to the situation he's in, and in the very back of his head, he realizes his trip is beginning to descend. The pain is still present, though, and it's not letting up. How can he feel pain if he's nothing? He's finally breathing again, and each exhale is accompanied by a whining wheeze. Involuntary tears roll down his face. Yeah, excuse me. Brian leans over him, and the coyote cringes. No, stop, please! Brian pauses, and just grabs Cameron by the arm and yanks him up. Cameron lets out a hoarse, breathless scream as his aching body is forced to move again. I almost said arching, and I don't know. It echoes around them before cutting off as a huge arm tightens around Cameron's throat.
Cam! Brian!
Devin's voice is very close, maybe only a tunnel or two away. Brian mumbles quietly next to Cameron's ear.
Shut the fuck up right now, or I'll obliterate your other kidney. Got it?
Cameron feels the threat hovering over the left side of his back this time, and he quickly shuts his muzzle, even though groans still force their way up, muffled behind his lips. This seems to be at least satisfying. Yeah, satisfy Brian, and he drops the chokehold before shoving Cameron forward. At first, Cameron is surprised that the bear didn't just hit him again, but Brian's distracted again. Devin's too close, and a few terrible plans go through the older bear's head that causes Cameron's already aching abdomen to lurch with nausea and fear. Brian considers waiting and ambushing Devin, but he quickly discards the idea as he realizes Cameron might try to warn Devin by making noise right as he reaches them. That's exactly what Cameron would do, even if it means being beaten to death by Brian. Deciding again that nothing matters anymore, he pushes Cameron forward through the narrow opening, the passage becoming more tight until Brian has to turn sideways and struggle through, and then it opens up. Okay, so it's an illustrated version. Okay, it looks good. I like it. But wouldn't it have been funny if it was just the photo? Like I don't know. It would definitely make it a lot worse. But you know. Cameron smells death. He instinctively backs up right into Brian. No! Please don't do this. I can't. He can't finish the sentence. Brian's victims felt pain that still seems unimaginable to the coyote. Knowing Devin is close behind them, Cameron makes one last effort to turn and dodge around Devin, but the bear is far too large, and he easily grabs up the coyote and throws him further into the hollow. Cameron comes up immediately, trying to suppress the whines and whimpers. Brian, just wait a second. Think about it. I can help you. Why did you bring me here in the first place? Brian gives Cameron a dispassionate look, but he does pause, and that gives Cameron some hope. And some time. Let me talk to them. Let me see if I can reason with them. We both know that all of this is over. Cameron senses a slight shift in Brian's intentions as the bear begins to seriously consider Cameron's reasons. Reasoning, that's what that said. I know you need help. I can feel them. They want you, Brian, and they're waiting for you. I know what it can be like, walking in circles for most of your life, making the same stupid mistakes and knowing what you need to do to get better, and just never doing it.
Oh yeah.
But I finally did, and my life was almost perfect. Until I met you. You mean it didn't become more perfect when you met him? Come on. So let's do this. Let's end this nightmare right now. Brian takes a deep breath and holds it. The entire town seems to hold its breath with him, and Cameron starts to understand how deeply entwined this bear is with this place. This entity that seems to be pulling all the strings. Cameron can feel the monolithic entity shift and turn, as if it too senses an inevitable end. Brian is close to taking the coyote's offer. But it isn't meant to be, and Cameron, of course, knows that. A scuffling from the entrance announces Devin's arrival.
Guess he's finally here, huh? Glad I brought my 10-gauge. Always wanted, want to make sure you got good firepower when bears are involved.
Cameron watches in horror as the old bear opens up the shotgun before inserting a shell. Cameron's mind is blank as he automatically lunges at the huge bear, grabbing the shotgun barrel as Brian snarls in rage. Everything's falling apart. They're spiraling. Devin shoves his bulk through the narrow passage, squeezing through the hollow on the other side. Oh, there, we got the good old color scheme of the hole. When he stumbles into the open space, Devin spots Cameron immediately, the coyote being swung left and right as he fights with Brian over the shotgun. Cameron is covered in blood, tears matted the fur on his cheeks. The situation is already a terrible one, but again, his fear for Cameron turns to anger as he sees the bear throwing crushing kicks at Cameron's lower body. Devin realizes this is it, and he has no time to think. Devin charges up behind the old bear and bites deeply into the side of Brian's neck. Apparently, biting someone other than himself is a lot more effective, and he feels his canines sink deep into the flesh beneath the thick fur. The old man is covered in a layer of protective padding, and just like himself. Excuse me. But the old bear clearly has a lot more of it. Still, Brian screams, high-pitched and full of fury. Then Cameron is finally shaken loose from the shotgun, and Brian grabs the barrel with both paws before ramming the butt of the shotgun back into Devin's stomach. The younger bear retches and crumples over, but he manages to grab the shotgun, holding onto the stock tightly. Brian, clearly aware of how bad the situation could become for him, lets go of the shotgun as he can turn around and throw a knee up into Devin's hunched form, an inch above the navel, almost the exact spot he'd hit him earlier. Devin feels as if his guts are flattened to his spine before liquefying the force, actually lifting him off the ground for a half a second. Even though he lands on his feet, he immediately sinks to his knees, muzzle wide open as he continues a battle with his own lungs, all while still trying to hold on to the shotgun.
You're a dead man walking, boy. Well, on your knees anyway. What a surprise.
Brian fumbles shakily to find the stock of the shotgun, hidden somewhere under Devin's bulk, while simultaneously trying to avoid the end of the barrel, in case Devin is able to find the trigger. The attack has been enough to rattle Brian, even if it was short-lived. Devin curses himself, trying to move, knowing he probably can't win, but he needs to do something. Maybe hurt Brian so bad that Cameron can at least get away. Get up. He can't breathe, so there's not much he can do to defend himself, let alone stand up. So Devin keeps his hold on the shotgun, even as Brian starts trying to yank it from his weakened grasp, and he's starting to succeed.
Cam, run!
Devin rasps, not even sure where Cameron is right now, assuming he still might be on the ground after being kicked so many times. Brian squeals. Looking up from his doubled up position, Devin sees Brian in front of him, bent over as well. The grizzled bear grabbing between his legs. As Brian sinks lower, Cameron appears, lowering a foot. The coyote smiles with relief and joy at seeing Devin, and seeing that he's got the shotgun. Cameron seems so sure that they've won that he doesn't see Brian quickly recovering. The old bear forcing himself up, murderous vengeance in his eyes as he runs at Cameron with another animalistic scream. Devin can only watch as the huge bear charges at Cameron. No! The much smaller coyote can only yelp in panic before Brian smashes into him and crushes him against the wall. Devin hears a crunching sound just as he gets his first tiny sip of air, and just as he hears Cameron's own air wheeze out in a yowl-like moan. And then, even more viciously than Devin had attacked Brian, the old bear begins to maul Cameron. Okay. Brian bashes him left and right with blows aimed at the coyote's face before Cameron collapses. There, Brian begins to rip and tear into the coyote with his claws. Devin begins to move, but it's slow, and he just wishes his lungs would start working. He struggles with the shotgun, but it suddenly opens up, and Devin doesn't know anything. Yeah, Devin doesn't know anything about working the gun. That's what that says. I'm not having troubles. So he leaves it behind, just knowing that he needs to stop Brian. Cameron tries to crawl away from Brian, and Devin sees sees the horror mirrored in his boyfriend's eyes. And then Brian comes down on him again, and Cameron throws his left elbow back at the bear's face, only for Brian to sink in his teeth into Cameron's forearm and elbow. Then he twists and tears, and Cameron lets out a howling sound, his body twisting violently. He's on his back now, and he goes quiet, staring in shock at the wall he's lying perpendicular to. His eyes begin to roll up as Brian thrashes his head, and a crunch comes from Cameron's arm. The coyote can't make any sounds now. The breath seemingly knocked out of him by the pain. Devin has never heard Cameron make those feral sounds before. Feral pain sounds, not like this. And to see him in so much agony that he can't breathe, can't even vocalize it anymore, it gives Devin the final push he needs. He charges into Brian, and the force knocks the old bear off the coyote. And Devin has never seriously mauled someone in his life, but it's something that comes naturally to him and Brian. And while he had mauled people in the past, including Cameron, this is the first time he brings his claws, teeth, and muscles to full use. Straddling the old bear, Devin roars at Brian before lunging down? Lunging down. Is that how that's pronounced? Lunging down? First, he bites Brian's neck again, but from the front this time, while his paws rip and tear into Brian's bear's hide. Brian's bear hide. Okay. Brian seems to concentrate for a second before burying his fist up into Devin's stomach, but the younger bear is tensed up this time, and the fist gets no further than his stomach muscles. Still, Brian's power is almost supernatural, and Devin lurches and grunts, folding over in ache, forming deep in the pit of his belly, but it only makes him bite harder. No, excuse me. Devin can feel that he's truly stunned the old bear, at least for now, and as Brian takes his first bite, he retorts to panicked shoves instead of actually trying to fight. And when Brian finally does try to claw at Devin's face and eyes, the younger bear leans back and smashes his head into Brian's muzzle. The sound it makes indicates a broken snout, and Brian lets out another high-pitched whine before screaming and trying to lunge up to bite Devin's neck. Devin leans back, just avoiding the teeth, before smashing his head a second time into Brian's face. Then, as Brian lays dazed, Devin lays into the snoot 3 times. A full force, trying to pound every bit of agony into Brian that the old bear had given at the time. That would be impossible, right? Still, Devin feels a savage satisfaction as he seems to at least 2 of the old bear's yellow teeth roll out of his muzzle. Brian howls and roars violently, finally dislodging the slightly smaller bear. Devin heaves for breath, watching as Brian comes up several feet away, crouching and also heaving for breath. You! Brian can barely form words, and not just because he's out of breath. His bitter hatred is evident, so mad that only froth spits frothy spit flies from his lips as he splutters. But Brian's eyes flick to the right, and Devin remembers all at once that he'd left the gun there, having been focused on helping Cameron. The old bear moves lightning fast once again, and he shoots off to the right, and Devin realizes Cameron is there too.
Cameron, look out!
Cameron lying in agony after Brian's vicious attack, knows something is deeply wrong with his body. The crushing against the wall of the chamber has done it. The true pain, though, emanates from his left arm, and Cameron knows that it's mangled, broken, and useless. But he can still use his legs, and Cameron forces himself to get up and start moving for the shotgun, hearing the snarls and growls of the bear behind him. He does his best to stay quiet, but stifled grunts and small squeaks force their way out of his throat. As soon as he touches the shotgun, though, he hears Devin shout,
Cameron!
And again, the nightmare that is Brian is tearing at his body, pinned him to the wall, and Cameron screams in terror as the huge bear starts trying to break his neck. The panicked coyote is only just able to get his unbroken arm up. It's maybe only 3 seconds before Devin is there, but it feels like an eternity. Cameron considering how badly it might feel to die from having his throat ripped out. Cameron's right arm is torn up as well, but since Brian is just gnawing and isn't shaking his head this time, his bones, at least, remain intact. Then, Devin wrenches the bigger bear off him. Cameron tries to get up, to crawl, but it's useless, his body too beaten and broken to do anything other than dragging himself away. Then he hears Brian's high-pitched squealing again, and this time, it's genuinely terrifying. Cameron looks over, and he sees the old bear is now on his back, with his arm in a sort of hold by Devin, a sort of hold. And Devin is lying on his back, Brian's arm pulled towards his chest, Devin's hips close to the bear's shoulders, as his legs lock together at the ankles. Devin grunts and heaves, with all his might, his power, his huge, powerful body arching toward the ceiling. Devin is intent on really hurting Brian this time, wanting to make sure he pays the old man back for Cameron's tooth and arm. So, with the tooth part avenged, Devin focuses on destroying the old bear's arm. Bear bones are especially hard to break. Devin has never had a broken bone in his life, but the younger bear knows a thing or two about applying force. His dad watched MMA all the time, and while he knows little about fighting, he knows why arm bars can be so devastating. But even as he leans back, bending the big bear's arm over his inner thigh, only a few cracks are heard, but it's nothing serious. Devin needs the arm to have less resistance and more distance from the fulcrum. What's a fulcrum? Unlocking his legs, he takes just a second to slam his foot right into the old bear's jaw. For just a second, Brian goes limp, and Devin relocks his ankles before lifting the limp arm away from his chest and curling up. Then he heaves back onto his arm again, arching hard while he twists his body. What, torque? Okay. And now you're thinking like an engineer. Okay, so it is torque? Okay. As the catchphrase of one of Devin's old professors comes to his mind, a crack splits the air, and Brian's scream somehow reaches a new, panicked pitch. Devin looks over to see Cameron had dragged himself a few feet away, leaving a dark, horrible blood trail smear behind him. Devin stumbles over to him, hovering his paws over the coyote's neck.
Baby, your neck! Let me see it!
He didn't get me. Let go! Cameron is in no shape to run, but he groans as Devin lifts him into his arms, the bear starting to stumble towards the exit. Devin looks down at the coyote in his arms, just now seeing how truly terrible Cameron's injuries are.
Need to get you out of here. Shit! Wait!
And the frantic chaos of the fighting off Brian, and it's making sure his boyfriend wasn't bleeding out, Devin had forgotten something. The butt of the shotgun, powered by the old bear's huge body, reminds him of with a harsh, sickened ache that spreads in a wave through his body. Cameron hears the dull thud, followed by the vibration through Devin's thick body. He feels the bear cringe as he sinks to his knees, huddled over Cameron. Oh, okay. Hello, friend. The huge bear lifts up the shotgun he'd managed to keep a hold of. He struggles to hold it up with only his left paw, and his injured right arm dangles before he practically swings it up to prop his right elbow against the wall, a few pops coming from the shoulder as he does. He screams again, and when that happens, but with his fully functional wrist, he can now take steady aim, and with how narrow the hollow is, there's nowhere to go.
Don't you fucking move. You got that. This is over. I'm killing the yote in front of you, and then I'm ripping your fucking arm off, boy.
Brian's expression is an odd mixture of excitement and disgust.
Pity you ain't half as cute as that pup.
Devin can only wheeze in response, and Cameron holds onto him tightly as he cradles in his arm.
God, you fucking ruined it. He was perfectly fine till you showed up. And now he's fucking fucked up to the point he's not even fuckable.
Priorities, love it. Cameron's ability to see and feel things is fading, just as the effect of the shrooms are fading. Still, there's just a bit left, and Cameron tries his best to use it. Devin's body begins trembling, and Cameron holds onto him more tightly. Devin's voice, still breathless, whispers into Cameron's ear.
Honey, whatever happens, just play dead, okay? No matter what.
But Cameron suddenly turns. Devin watches as Cameron's face becomes a bouquet of red ribbons, and the bear bear stumbles as the shot hits his arm as well. Cameron's body jerks violently as his arms, in his arms, before going incredibly still. Devin quickly looks down to see Cameron no longer with a face. Everything that used to make up his face is splattered against the walls, and it still pours from. Cameron is gone. In shock, Devin looks at his arm and sees the white bone shards, at first thinking it's his own, but then he sees a few of Cameron's sharp teeth also embedded into his arm. And Devin leans over Cameron's body, an expression of untold anguish on his face as he starts to let out a low, terrible groan that raises in pitch to a bearish howl. After looking forward, Cameron does the only thing he can think of.
No!
Cameron grabs the barrel and shoved up. The sound is so loud it instantly deafens Cameron, and though the ringing starts to subside, the hearing in his right ear doesn't come back.
Cameron! Cameron!
I'm fine. Cameron looks to where Brian is. The kickback from the 10 gauge had hit him hard, squarely in the chest. Cameron can almost yeah, visualize the shock sent through the old, worn-out heart, already exhausted from the stimulant and the fight. The old bear still on unsteady feet, stumbling back a bit more before hitting the wall and sliding down to sit. Brian sits propped up against it, looking confused. He clutches his chest, rubbing it and grimacing. The is on the ground, out of Brian's reach, and the old bear makes no move for it. Fuck! He starts to try and get back up, but falls back down. Oh, fuck. Brian clenches his chest and stomach and groans. Oh, no. That was it. Is this it? What the fuck? What the... Brian slumps back, his body convulsing. Then he thrashes about, as if trying to escape something. He knocks over the smashes the electric lamp, crushing it under his weight. For several more seconds, they both listen to Brian's groans, rasping and snorting some before it's silent. It's quiet for a while longer, Cameron and Devin not daring to move. Brian had seemed invincible for so long. Cameron can't get himself to believe that it might be over. Devin whispers into Cameron's ears. Cameron, how do you feel? Cameron gives Devin a look that's a mixture of love and exasperation, even if Devin can't see it right now. They both know he's badly fucked up. I think something ruptured. It feels all wrong. Cameron places his right paw on his own torso, wincing. Don't move, okay? I'll get us out. I'll get us out in no time. Devin starts to tentatively make his way forward, and just as Cameron is realizing how long this might actually take, possibly too long if there is internal bleeding, his vision flickers. Arch. Cameron stares at it, and then looks at Devin, wincing at the bear's bloodied and bruised face. But Devin didn't react to the light like Cameron is the only one seeing it. But a shroom trip can't emanate light, no matter how hard you're tripping. I think I can see where to go. Just walk straight. How? Cameron starts to shake his head, then stops as his neck sends a pang of fury pain. Turn the volume up. This track good. Go, 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 go. Go? Okay. Okay. Cameron starts to shake his head, then stops. Yes, okay. I don't know, but I can see. Let's just get out of here, please. Cameron tries to, Wait, what? Fuck. What am I? Okay. Cameron tries hard not to look at Brian's crumpled form against the side of the wall, of the hollow. His wide open eyes glinting from the gentle glow. Okay, just tell me where, okay? And sure enough, as they leave, arch after arch appears, and Cameron is confident they'll lead to the exit. These arches had tortured his mother, but this feels like his mother somehow. As they move, they both hear rustling sounds far behind them in the mines, but Brian is definitely dead, or at least had been when they left. Okay. So they keep moving, trying to keep quiet. Then, within an hour, real light. Daylight? Devin looks down at Cameron and winces just like Cameron did when he saw Devin's face. God, honey, we're gonna get you help. And you're gonna get better, okay? But what about you? Do you feel okay? Cameron's voice is weaker than it was earlier, and Cameron feels Devin quicken his pace.
I'm fine.
Devin says it sternly, setting his jaw, and Cameron stays quiet.
Cameron, I'm sorry.
And that's the last time you're saying that to me, okay? I don't blame you for anything. I'm just glad I met you. He listens to the bear's heartbeat, steady for most of the journey, but getting faster as they get closer to the exit.
I think I hear a helicopter. Or maybe a megaphone. Shit, did people come for us?
The shotgun blew out my hearing, so I'm not really sure. His trip is mostly over, yet these visions are so vivid. Cameron stares at the new arch, and something about it feels different. Oh. Mom, I found it.
Huh?
Her arch.
You're seeing arches.
You know how something can happen that's so impactful, it splits your life in two? Like, you see life as before, and after that moment, it can be good or bad. Devin hesitates, like he wants an answer to the question he just asked, but he lets it go for now.
Of course.
I think meeting you is the good divide in my life. I think what happened here, and what's going to happen after, I think it's the bad divide. It had always been his mother's death, and it still is. A divide. But this time, Cameron realizes he's been deeply affected mentally, and it's not something that he can just recover from. Something's truly wrong with him. That's been the case for a long time, and now, after this, something's been pushed over the edge. So another divide.
I think you're gonna be okay, Cameron.
Devin, whatever happens after this, I love you. And I'm so happy I met you.
Come on. You didn't have to say that first part. We made it, okay? It's okay. It's just a fork in the road.
Cameron gasps. Oh, Devin, Artie's alive. He went to get us help, I think. I hope.
What? How?
I don't know. He got shot, but he got away. Brian was pissed. He's hurt, but I think he made it.
No. That's...
Devin... Okay, Devin lips tremble as his face twists up slightly as he tries not to cry. But it's out of incredible relief and happiness. Cameron doesn't tell him how bits of Artie are missing, and that he can't sense him anymore, both because it's his waning power, and because Artie is too far away. At least that's what he hopes. Cameron stares up at the arch, looking both beautiful and terrible at the same time. A raincoat monster stands to the side as they pass, and this time Cameron does think it's his old hallucination. A cardboard and unmoving, just like he's always been. But something about all this, the way he sees things, something has changed. It's not his psychic ability, because now it's subtle and hardly noticeable again. No, something else happened, and his mind feels wrong. Looking forward is no longer clear, but as Cameron uses the last of the in his system to peer into the future, he becomes afraid of what he sees. And so he just turns his muzzle slightly to Devin.
Cameron, we're going to make it.
Based on what he saw, Cameron isn't sure. Devin will stay. He was able to see that much. But should he... More than anything, they both want to stay together. But if Cameron becomes a burden to Devin, he doesn't know how he can stay. He just hopes that Devin can still love him after this terrible change, and he hopes he can fight it, whatever it is. So Cameron leans his head against Devin's shoulder, smiling in a mostly happy but slightly sad way. All right.
All right. Now let's get the hell out of here.
Okay. Okay. We do think that's okay. We will save you here. We will make this as anticlimactic as possible and do that. That was a cool build. I liked it a lot. I like all of these builds. I'm easy to please. You shake a Brian in front of me, and I'm pretty I'm pretty content. I'm pretty happy, you know? I totally think they're dead. Cameron being confused about the situation with the raincoat monster. Yeah, yeah. I guess we'll have to wait till next time, right? We'll get a clear answer probably, you know. Oh, do I have to click again? Okay, okay. But I can see it going either way, you know. It is what it is. Writers can do what they want. Like, I can see this going the way of, you know, everyone's favorite anime, Captain Earth. When I opened the door called Truth, my childhood ended. It was a summer I could never forget. And how that series ended, where it's like, oh, the protagonists are dead, okay. And you see them, like, going off into the stars together. And you're like, yeah, they're dead, okay. People still argue against that, but, you know. I would say if there wasn't an extra build, they're definitely dead. But we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. There's gonna be an epilogue. I do think it would be funny if these two died and the epilogue is like entirely from Duke and Artie's perspectives. Please, actually let it be that. Let me hang out with Duke. Like he seemed pretty alright. He was still wearing his weird like picnic basket shirt, but you know how it is. Those shirts are weird. Like, just wear a normal flannel shirt. Like, come on. I don't like where it's like a primary color, like checkered, like kind of bordered with white, because it just makes me think like that's a picnic blanket. That's not a shirt. It is what it is. Let me put that back to normal. Yeah, was able to do some shit. For the town, maybe, you know. I think they're dead, but maybe Echo's giving it. Yeah, okay. I don't know. What happens to Duke? Yeah, I'm worried. Like I'm like, yo, Dooku-chan. Like, it is what it is. But yeah, I'll end. I'll end the part here. You know, I guess the stream here, not part. You know, is what it is. I will look forward to the next build in 5 months. So I'll see you around.